Hola amigos, bienvenidos, welcome to the Spanish channel, Grammar Checkpoint 15. We are going to be looking today at the subjunctive mood. Now then, the subjunctive mood is a very complex thing to teach, and I really hope I don't mess this up for you. The subjunctive is not strictly speaking a tense, although it kind of operates like a tense. I want you to think of the subjunctive mood as the moody tense. It is the upside down of tenses. We'll come back to the upside down shortly. Now, there are certain structures you use in Spanish that, when followed by a verb, has to feature in what we call the subjunctive. We do use this in English, but not very much. If I give you the example of the word if plus a past tense, believe it or not, that is called a past subjunctive. For example, you don't say in English, if I was, or if you do say that, it's not right. Now, Beyonce knows this. She knows her grammar, does our Beyonce. She has a song called If I Were a Boy, and she's absolutely right. If followed by the past tense in English actually requires a subjunctive, if I were. Now, whilst the subjunctive is not used a great deal in English, although, I've just given you one simple example, it's used a lot in Spanish. Go figure. It's also used a lot in French and Italian, in actual fact. There are many occasions when you need to use a subjunctive in Spanish, but I'm just going to cover with you about 6 occasions where that is the case. I don't want to overload you. So if you are going to express doubt in Spanish by saying the structure, I doubt that, for example, I doubt that I can, dudo que, meaning I doubt that, you're going to need a subjunctive following that. I'll explain what that means later. If you're going to use a negative structure, for example, I don't think that, no pienso que, I don't believe that, no creo que, I wouldn't say that, no diría que, they all require a subjunctive after. Future intentions, for example, when I go to university, I am going to study. That requires a subjunctive. Hypothetical situations, for example, I want to work with a team that is. It's hypothetical because the team is unknown. We don't know what team or type of team that is at the moment. There is something called the rule of 3. Every time you say it is, es, plus an adjective, let's say it is important, es importante that, que, es importante que is important that. You could exchange the adjective, it is essential that, es esencial que, and so on. You have to use a subjunctive following that structure. Who knew? And finally, as soon as, the structure as soon as, which is tan pronto como, as soon as I learn how to sail, I'm going to take to a boat, that requires subjunctive. So you need to try and be aware of these 6 structures and practice them as regularly as you can. So what on earth is this strange subjunctive mood? Let's find out. Okay, just pay attention to these 6 sentence starters. When I go to Spain, now I said to you that the word when, cuando, followed by a future intention, requires a subjunctive. Which part of this sentence requires a subjunctive? It's the verb, I go. When I go is a subjunctive. As soon as is a structure that requires the subjunctive. Which part of this sentence, however, will be in the subjunctive? The verb, I have. Now then, it is fantastic that I live. This is our rule of 3. It is, plus an adjective, plus the word that. But where does the subjunctive feature in that sentence? It is the verb at the end, I live. Number 4, I doubt that I am. Expressions of doubt requires subjunctive. The word I am will need to be in the subjunctive. And finally, numbers 5 and 6. I don't think that, I don't believe that. When we've got a negative opinion, the verb that follows, I listen, I learn, they need to be in the subjunctive. So how do we say these verbs in the subjunctive? Let's just take number 5, I don't think that I listen. So we established on the previous page that I don't think is no pienso que. How do we say I listen? Well, Normally, escuchar, which is an AR verb, we would take off the ending and just add an O, wouldn't we? Escucho, I listen. However, because this is a structure requiring the subjunctive, this is going to have a different ending to usual. And you'll find out how to do that here. So, escuchar, to listen, take off the AR and add the letters as follows, depending on your pronoun. So, if you were to say, I listen, and it's a subjunctive clause, then you're going to say escuche for I listen, escuches, escuche, escuchemos, escuchéis, escuchen. What about if you were using an ER or IR verb actually? To learn is aprender. Now, I don't believe that is a negative structure, so therefore I learn needs to be in the subjunctive. Aprender, ER verb. Take off the ending and look, you've got a, as, a. Aprenda, aprendas, aprenda, aprendamos, aprendáis, aprendan. You must only use the subjunctive mood after certain expressions, as I've shown you. There are more, but this is your absolute basic starting point. And to make matters worse, there are irregulars. Hurrah! You know this. Tener, to have, is an irregular verb. And in the subjunctive mood only, the conjugation is as follows. Tenga, tengas, tenga, tengamos, tengáis, tengan. So I have, you have, she or he has, we have, all of you have, they have. Ser, to be, is irregular, and in the subjunctive mood only becomes sea, seas, sea, seamos, seáis, sean. I am, you are, she is, and so on. And another common irregular, ir, to go. Vaya, vayas, vaya, vayamos, vayáis, vayan. Only to be used following subjunctive structures, only those. So it's over to you. You're going to have a go at numbers 1 to 6. You might need to rewind the video to the page where it tells you how to say when, as soon as, it's fantastic, that I doubt that, and so on. Otherwise, it's over to you, and I'll come back to you with your answers shortly. Good luck. Buena suerte. Right, I hope you've gotten all right with that. Very tricky. Can you remember earlier when I said the upside down? Hopefully you've been thinking about this, but have you noticed how AR verbs, when following the subjunctive mood, actually operate like an ER or IR verb in the present tense, whereas an ER or IR verb in the subjunctive, strangely, ends in all those A's, which ordinarily in the present tense would be an AR verb. Very odd. And that's why I call it the upside down. Anyway, our answers. When I go to Spain, cuando vaya a España. Remember, go is one of our irregulars. As soon as I have, tan pronto como tenga. It's one of our irregulars. It is fantastic that I live. Okay, live is not irregular, so we're going to follow this grid. Vivir is to live, IR verb, so we're going to use this column. Es fantástico que viva. I doubt that I am. Dudo que, to be, am, that's irregular. Sea. I don't think that I listen. No pienso que escuchar is an AR verb, so we're using this column. No pienso que escuche. And finally, I don't believe that I learn. No creo que aprenda. Aprender, ER, verb, we're using this column, hence aprenda. So how did you get on? And that really is all I want to show you today about the subjunctive mood. It is just an introduction, although a very solid introduction at that. And I just want to summarize and recap these 6 areas, these 6 structures. If you use these in Spanish, you must follow with a verb in the subjunctive. I doubt that I can. I can would be in the subjunctive. I don't think that I like would be subjunctive. When I go to the restaurant, for example, I go will be subjunctive. Okay, so if you try to practice these as much as possible. And again, if you're an exam class, make sure you're using these as much as you can. Examiners absolutely love an accurate and relevant use of the subjunctive. Okay, so even if you just use one or two of these moving forward, that will be a real start. As always, any questions, please do pop them in the comments box below and I'll get back to you. But for now, I wish you well and I will see you soon. Hasta luego.